Yeah, I realized when I started seeing you doing like this kind of thing, I was like, oh, I know what's coming.
The face. I need it now. I want a T-shirt with that face of yours on it. I think that is the.
What was the face?
Oh, you got it. You're gonna have to go back and watch the stream. There's a freeze frame opportunity there, which is just absolutely priceless. So
I think we can safely say no one really wants or needs to see more of this.
I disagree. You're far too self-depreciating about this handsome visage.
And so, like, we realized. I don't know if I told you, Harv, who's the creator of the Von Dingles, and I, one of our I think it was on. Oh, it was when we were talking to Seth Green. We were on the thing, and Seth said something, and Harv made some self-depreciating comment, and Seth did to Harv exactly what you just did to me. And I was like, Harv, I'm right there with you. That's my exact go-to. This is probably why we've done so well together.
Yes. I was on that call as well. I think, these are personality traits that should be looked for in long-term creative partnerships. I think, seems to be, we have 2 case studies here that seem to indicate that's a good combination.
It's a good thing.
Very good. Well, hello, GM. I am Evan Matthews.
This Adam Martin,
2 of the co-founders of, you can see our little logo up here in the upper right-hand corner, Macroverse. And we are a next-generation entertainment company making all kinds of really cool stuff, but particularly focused on Web3 and comics and the intersection of how, I guess, the next generation of entertainment franchises are made and born with ourselves, with a bunch of really cool collaborators, and with the community of fans and participants at large. And so those intersecting elements are, I think, what we are particularly excited about, and have been doing this for a few years now. We've got an incredible mobile app. We're getting ready to launch a very cool platform. We've got a bunch of content that we can talk about. We've got a bunch of content that we can't talk about. And we like to give these kind of weekly updates on the stuff that we can talk about, with perhaps the occasional tease for some of the things that we can't yet talk about interspersed there as well. So going across the Macroverse, let's just get right into it. I think
so, right?
Over the past few weeks, we've had to, the Koala Intelligence Agency, one of our projects, has taken a little bit of a backseat as we've been finding the right artist and putting together the right kind of production pipeline and kind of figuring out the right elements to begin producing the first series of comic shorts that we plan to do here with the KIA. If you want more details about that plan, we do these weekly updates every week, and we talked more about that over the past couple of weeks. So more of the details are there.
As opposed to the weekly updates every month. That's good.
This is true. I mean, there's a comedy opportunity there somewhere, but
it is true. It's true. I'm here to be the pedant on the call. Yeah,
it's good.
It's good.
Did you say the pet ant? As
no,
in,
the pedant? No, the pedant. As in being pedantic. The pedant is someone who's very, me.
This feels like a Monty Python role that one would have. Like, who's joining the squad today? It's the pedant. And the pedant brings up the rear to keep everyone in line. I don't know. There's something.
Yes.
Need a badge. It's like, not best boy, best pedant.
There we go. Yes.
But we digress. So yes, going straight into the Koala Intelligence Agency, we have now gotten the first sample of what will likely be the first release strip. There is also more to see at the Koala Agency Twitter, which is kind of the main place for that outside of our Discord at the moment. So that is Koala Agency NFT. That name, fair warning, will get updated as we're kind of updating all of our handles, but for now, that is where you will find more about koalas. But Adam, share that screen. Let's show a little sneak peek at this first strip.
Yep. And the idea, I think we mentioned last week, but the idea is that initially we're producing 10 of these things. Here we go, make it nice and big. With the idea of it being this kind of 1 to 3, 4 panel strips that we can use to explore this world. So this is going to be the first one. I'm actually really happy with this.
I think it's very fun.
Yes.
So Ivan, oh no, I'm going to put his last name. Ehlers, yes, is the artist on this. I think he's fantastic job. We talked last week. He's got a long pedigree of doing these kinds of short comics with places like the New Yorker and other, very reputable places that one does short comics. And what I love about this is, kind of exactly what we had asked for, is taking ideas from the things that have been submitted on the Twitter thread that we put up on the KIA Twitter, along with characters that have been submitted through that same process, and creating sort of an amalgam of that with our own ideas around how we might present this concept around the agency. How do we integrate the different traits in the collection in fun ways that tie into the story? So I think he's just done a pretty brilliant job with this in that regard. And, to me, when I look at this, not only is it a fun way of bringing these characters into the mix, but just the notion of, they've sent some poor koala out into the snow, but he's got a fire trait, therefore is unaffected, suggests that there's some stuff happening at this agency that might be outside the norm of your traditional intelligence type of thing. So,
the original, yes. It's really fun, and it's funny because I think the idea of it was the very much like this idea. It was very much inspired by the Flaming Bear by Masqua. We're calling Masqua at least, and that was just something like, how do you put this character in a situation where it just makes no sense whatsoever? And I think initially, as I started to think about this, it was like, oh wait, if he's actually on the North Pole is all ice. How would you, if he just burns his way through the ice and ends up kind of underwater? And then I was like, well, no, that gets a little much. I feel like that could be ends up floating around under the North Atlantic Ocean, under the ice flow. It's like, oh, poor thing's probably dead at that point, which isn't quite the vibe we're going for. However, the idea of them just sinking into snow and basically being set up kind of as a joke from the HQ is just made me happy. So yes.
Yeah, very much so. It's very fun. So koalas finally get some love. That will get kind of moving relatively quickly now. And as we have that one finished, we'll post it, obviously. And then, more will come after that. And so our plan right now, as we'd said, is, we'll do the first batch of 10, which will include a few different links of these strips. And then we'll figure out kind of how we're going to move that forward into what we'll call kind of phase 2 of the koala world storytelling comics experience, which I think will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. But it's very nice to feel like, yes, we're actually kind of plowing ahead with this now, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on into more to show, a few pages to show from the Vogu anthology series, which has been coming along very swimmingly. Some of these have been shared on Discord. We always share stuff first on Discord. So, anyone that wants to get early access to this stuff, that is the place to be. Lots of sneak peeks of stuff basically every day. As new stuff comes into us, we pick bits and pieces of it and throw it up on our sneak peek channel there. And then if you're someone that's actually creating content in one of these worlds, like Lady Valor, who I see in the chat, hello, Lady Valor, who is about to see, I think, the 2 pages with their kind of color treatment for the first time, perhaps, or at least fully for the first time, perhaps. This has just come in from Alex Cipriano, is the artist on this, who I could not be more excited to be working with on it. So we'll get right into that. So here are some pages from Vogu, without letters at this point, but that will come next. One of the things that we did here, Alex is really well known for this kind of grayscale plus single color kind of a treatment. And so I wanted to incorporate that in his approach to these comic pages. And so using color as a storytelling element, how we bring you through the sequence, was something that he and I kind of went back a little back and forth about. And he mostly nailed it right off the bat, but just having a way to kind of bring you through the sequence so that we're going from this kind of yellow color story from outside into the room, and literally like the light on the house brings you into this hole in the wall, which brings you inside. Then we flip to kind of the red color story of this mutt character, back to yellow for the entrance of our blue tar in this case, back to red because it's about the mutt in this case. Just these little details of, you know, the lights on the characters, like just, I think these little spots of color, I think create a really unique look to the whole thing, as well as, you know, what I think is very cool is finding interesting, potentially different visual ways of kind of bringing you through a story. Is one of the things that I get kind of obsessed about sometimes when it's the right style and the right person. And so, you know, it might appear simple initially, but I think there's a level of thought process that often goes into this kind of stuff when it works, that to me gets very exciting. So that's page 1. Then as we go to page 2, I love this where the yellow color story essentially transitions into now this green color story, going along with the transition in the story and the plot itself, as our faithful mutt here essentially rescues this person from death, deletion. I don't know what Lady Violet would say about that, but essentially ceasing to exist in some form or fashion. So very cool, very excited about what's happening with these pages. I hope Lady Valor likes them as well. And then I've got a couple of other Vogus here to show also. So let's go over to, I'm going to show the black and white line art for Tara Mecca's story, which is just absolutely gorgeous. So Daniel Fernie, the artist on this one, you know, one of the things that was fun here is Jason Trinidad, who's the, you know, creator and original artist on Vogu, had done an illustration of what a seed ship looks like. And so one of the things I always love in this is like getting different artists' interpretations of, you know, something that we've seen before. So it's like, you know, as going back, I think probably to the earliest days of my comic collecting and obsessing is, you know, you kind of want to see your favorite artist's version of Wolverine, for example. And there's, you know, there's a John Byrne Wolverine, which is a very classic Wolverine, but then there's a Mark Silvestri Wolverine, which is a very classic Wolverine. And then there's a, you know, Frank Miller Wolverine, which is a whole other very classic Wolverine. And so over the history of these franchises, getting to see that different interpretation to me is one of the things that gets very exciting. And so even though we're in the early stages of these things in that context, just getting to see Daniel's interpretation, his version of things like a seed ship, you know, things like the Vogu monk in action here, you know, to me gets very exciting to kind of see those different versions. But
the ship especially, it's just, there's something about that I mean, I love Daniel's work in general, and we're doing something else with him right now, which is kind of fun. You know, he's someone that we just kind of want to keep as busy as possible. But this take on this sci-fi world, especially, and that ship, there is something about that just feels like quintessential sci-fi. It feels like all the aliens and the movies that I grew up with. I mean, it's just stunningly good, and obviously very much based on Jason's original designs, but yeah.
Moving on to page 2 here, which is this very fun little action sequence with this android character that comes from the Terra Mecha world. And we talked a little bit about this on a previous stream as well, where it's like this is almost a Vogu character appearing in a different world or tangential world, as much as it is, you know, this other character appearing in a Vogu story. So it's an interesting mix there. But, you know, I think what's also very fun about this is you get to kind of explore something that, you know, we've been working on the main series side as well, that, you know, there's kind of a very, what would you call it? Like, you know, this style of ship, even the way that many of the Vogu and Mutts kind of feel, it's not the lived in universe look of Star Wars quite in the way that I think people think about that, but it's a very machined world. It's a very like utilitarian in some sense of like, these are the parts that we have and they kind of all fit together. And it's not, I want to be careful how I say this because I'll make sure I'm saying it the way I think about it, that I love the aesthetics of these Vogu characters and of the Vogu world. And to me, feels very kind of like constructed world rather than designed world, if that makes any kind of sense. So it's like when I think of like design, like in sci-fi, like almost think of it like, for love them or hate them, like the aesthetic of the prequels in Star Wars have very sleek lines and curvy, kind of ships. And there's a much more kind of designed kind of aesthetic around the old era of the Star Wars galaxy versus the, more utilitarian, kind of original series. And so that's a little bit of how I feel like, we're thinking about what's happening with Vogu, is that there's kind of everything we know about the Vogu universe based on what Jason has put in place, which has this more, we build it this way because it's machined and it's made in a factory, and it's, then you have all this kind of ability to customize it, which is what makes it so cool. And then you're going to see in episode 1 and kind of as we move into that, some other areas in this universe that, maybe are approaching things a little bit differently and therefore have a slightly different look. And so this doesn't tie directly into that, but there's a little bit of a correlation there as well. So anyway, I didn't expect to talk about that, but love what Daniel did here, as we kind of always do.
Yep.
And then one final Vogu bit to show off today, and that'll probably be the majority of the show and tell, I think, for today. But gonna also show off the almost final pages. So you're getting things in different stages here. The almost completely final pages with a couple of tweaks for where did it go? Hold on a second. For Max Phoenix, Ronald Smith's story. And love this one. It's a lot of fun. It's, I think, really a great blend of kind of a slightly humorous concept in some way to me.
Oh, definitely.
But at the same time, doing a very good job of kind of conveying some world building under the surface here as well. And why? Oh, sorry, I'm looking in the wrong place. Here we go. So this
was definitely one of the ones that I read, when the first pictures came in, and I felt like I got it immediately. I got the sensibility for it. It made total sense. It's like, yeah, great. Totally see this one. Really hope we get to it. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is Noodle Ops. And so you can see, this is probably 95% done. Rommel and I are going back and forth on a couple of tweaks on dialogue and, a couple of extra bits and pieces to put in to help clarify things. This last stage of putting in credits and final word balloons and those sorts of things are always kind of what I think is sort of where it all really comes together. Adam and I often spend time together at this stage, kind of making sure that we're kind of fine tuning what text goes on the page so that you're really trying to find that perfect balance of word and picture, bringing you, through the story, that it's not relying too heavily on text and it's not relying too much on the visuals. But that's what makes comics so great, is this amalgam of, these different elements that bring you through the story. So this is, this noodle heist, which I absolutely love. So here's Rommel's character. And that's the other thing you'll see us do, is kind of integrate the characters that these come from. So in this case, haven't put in the number there yet, but the actual TAR number will be recognized and who it's owned by. And then of course the credits, and then, into the story. I also think I came up with I've been thinking about a name for the anthology series, and I haven't even pitched this to you yet, Adam. So if it's terrible, forgive me. But I think I've been thinking like Vogu Transmissions is kind of a cool name for the anthology series. This notion of, we're kind of getting these different bits of story across the galaxy. I think it's kind of a fun way to tie that.
Transmissions could be a really fun name, actually. That's great. Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Glad you like it. And then into the second page here. And this is one of those kind of like perfect panels to me. This like split screen with the kind of lightning, motif that brings us from Tar back to the person in the seed ship. It also begs a question which we should probably have as a larger conversation with the community, and especially the people that are playing on the creative side of this, that, to me, like when I see that Tar ship from the exterior, like I don't picture this kind of like cozy, gamer kind of a room, but I love the fact that like there could be this experience on a Tar ship. And then what I picture on a Tar ship is largely kind of like you're just in a little pod somewhere.
Like, yeah. Oh, exactly. Yep.
So I think like figuring out how that kind of hierarchy works, or like, who gets to live in a room versus who gets to, only live in a pod, and therefore might spend more time tethered to a Tar just because your human life is not that
nothing
exciting.
Else going on. Yeah.
Not that much to do. So anyway, I think there's some fun to be had with kind of the way that all works as we clarify some of this stuff. But back to this, absolutely love this. This is an artist named Adrian who, again, we've been able to work with a couple of times. He did a fantastic Bushido's short for us as well. To me, there's a little bit of a Mignola aesthetic in this. Rommel also very correctly pointed out there's a bit of a Kevin Eastman, famous for one of the creators of Ninja Turtles, his aesthetic in here. So I can definitely see that as well. And there's just something about his approach to, especially what if you look at his Instagram, which I recommend that you find and we can share if anybody wants to, if they can't track it down, but. Adrian Rangel is his name, Rangel perhaps. And, he tends to do much more kind of fantasy type art. So, and you can kind of see that in the aesthetic. But what I think is so cool with both the Vogu pages and his Bushido's pages is like that applied to sci-fi is really kind of a neat combination. Like I think there's a really unique thing that appears from that. So I think that's the show and tell for today. Other than we'll do a quick walk around the rest of some of these universes. So Bushido is still very much underway.
Line art still coming in, proceeding as planned.
Yeah, lots of great new stuff there. Let's see. Dead Town stuff is still underway. I keep teasing this, but Steven is working on two things that I think people are going to be very excited about in the world of Dead Town. Let's see. What else in the way of collections? GSA. I don't think we talked about the GSA recently. When the platform launches, I have a little present for the GSA, which will be... I don't want to use the word present. That might be misconstrued. There will be something. There'll be something to see around the GSA, which I think people will be excited about. Some have seen it, most haven't, but no one has seen it in the way they're going to see it when the platform launches. So that should be in relatively short order. And speaking of the platform, I put up a sneak peek on the Macroverse Twitter yesterday. Which shows some of the progress there. We're getting all of the real content populated onto the platform now, and it's very exciting to see like the real stuff there, not just our tests, not just our kind of dev environment, but like, oh, this is what these pages
actually
really look like, and they all work and they all connect to things. And so the phase that we're at now is getting the last of that uploaded. There's still kind of a couple little pesky bugs which we're chasing down, but my expectation is we'll be able to start to look towards a launch date right around the end of this week. So we don't have anything to announce around that yet, but if you're intrigued about what we're building, if you're intrigued about this kind of future of digital collectible comics that we're inventing, I would highly recommend that you find your way to our pre-mint list, which you can do from the Macroverse website right now, macroverse.com, and at least get yourself on the list. These are going to be very limited editions when we first start out, including some very, very limited editions within those limited editions. So if you have any desire to consider participating in this first release, this first drop, I would just suggest getting ready for that. And then finally, let's close by talking about the most fun thing that we're probably working on right now, which is the Von Dingles. Adam, tell us about the Von Dingles again.
Yeah, it answers what I think is one of the great questions, along with what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Really is also what happens to Easter eggs that aren't found after an Easter egg hunt, and this is the answer to that. It's not 42, which is good. It's they disappear, they grow arms and legs, and they like scurry off into their own little world, and they go and form little Von Dingle societies and have all sorts of magical little eggy adventures. And this is the story of one of those eggs, Clark, who you can see kind of peeking over the top of our screens right now.
Yes.
So yeah, he's it's a story about him. He's an egg with no arms, and he has no arms and no face. So on top of the challenges of being a sentient walking egg, he also has other things to deal with. Evan's just playing with the screen.
Distractingly playing with how to try to do more of that art, but
that's good. It's all good. We'll be showing it off in a second.
Yes.
And yeah, so we're working with the team, the Stupid Buddies team, who are they're behind Robot Chicken and Crossing Swords and just a ton of other amazing stop motion pieces that you've known and loved over the years. Like they're just ridiculously prolific and impressive. And this is the latest idea. It's from Harv Havertine, who's one of the co-owners of the company. Basically, he directs all their material. Really fun, super talented. Launching as a comic strip, but they actually did like a short, brand new stop motion short as well, which is just amazing. And yeah, we're diving in and producing this series with them, launching it, kicking it off on Kickstarter.
So this is live on Kickstarter right now. As you can see, we've crossed the halfway mark on the funding goal here. So over 20K as of this morning. And very excited about this project. So this will be a full graphic novel of the first kind of major adventure of Clark and his friends. And then you can see, this is kind of fun. Like we got to be the exclusive home of this short that they debuted at Halloween, which is currently on the Kickstarter as well. So if you want to watch the short, which I highly recommend that you do, because it's
fantastic.
Everything you love about the work that they do at Stupid Buddy and Robot Chicken. Very much sets the stage and the tone and the feel for kind of what we're going for in the graphic novel as well. But you can see, just I love Patrick Williams' art. We've worked with him before as well. To me, it's the perfect mix of kind of underground comics, but still very approachable and, for lack of a better term, kind of commercial and accessible, but it has kind of, an edge to it at the same time. Like his line work, his aesthetic, his sensibility. There's just, it's a great blend, which again, feels very Robot Chicken-y, very, very Stupid Buddy-ish.
It's great.
One of his ideas, which I love in this page, is we're playing with the sense of scale and who are these eggs in the world, and so you see them going up across these mountains, only to reveal that actually those are the fence in the foreground here as they're passing in the background. So it's just little fun things like that you might not even get on the first read that are just going to be populated, shoved into every corner of this graphic.
And that is one of the fun of writing. It has been the fun of writing the series. It's the fun of writing comics in general, and then writing comedy especially, is looking for how can you pack as much humor and detail and world into kind of every frame possible. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it's a close-up on a face, which is great. But often you get this chance to kind of fill it in and populate and do little jokes and little gags and little bits and pieces that just make it all the more fun and engaging to both to write and to read. Yeah.
And you can see we've got, all kinds of rewards at every price point. So, if you just want to grab the digital version, that's easy. Make pecker jokes to myself.
It's true.
the very least, because this character is called the Pecker. As someone very wisely and smartly pointed out, if you're familiar with the classic robot chicken, I don't think it's an accident that the Pecker kind of looks like perhaps the egg that the robot chicken could have been born from, or at least there is some similarity there, which perhaps or perhaps not might be intentional. So, very, very fun project. As I think about, again, this is just my childish nature, so forgive me, do not mean to offend, but things like the Pecker Rises, I just can't stop myself. You think about, the evil that awaits these characters. It's all coming back to the Pecker. So
it's good. And yes, and so much other fun stuff. And we've just got in the first of what maybe it was going to be a kind of a series of little shorts, kind of doing some of the fun stuff. I don't think we've released any of those yet. So
the first one is out on Twitter yesterday. It'll be coming out on Instagram and other platforms, and as well as through the Kickstarter today. So we did give a peek of that first one on the Macroverse Twitter timeline yesterday. But they're really cool. So these little, really three panel strips, again, as kind of bonus material for the, while we run this campaign. And again, just, Adam writing them with Harv, Patrick doing the art for them. They're just fantastic. So wonderful stuff all around. If you haven't at least looked at the campaign, I would very much appreciate it if you did check it out, because this is something we're very excited about. And we think people that, again, if you like Robot Chicken, you will love this. And I think that's really the thing about whether or not this is your cup of tea, is like, if you like that aesthetic, this is that aesthetic, mainlined through comics and graphic novels.
Very much.
And their first comic project, which I also think is very fun for us to get to be a part of.
Well, first in because they met doing Twisted Toy Theater, right? Like 20 years ago or something. They kind of came together doing a comic project. And so, this is the first time in a very long time.
It's the first comic project Stupid Buddy is associated.
That is true. Yes, 100%.
That's our claim to fame here. We get to be the production partner for the first Stupid Buddy comics and graphic novel project. So,
stupid comic? I don't know. Maybe
stupid comics. I was trying to make other stupid things. I was like, I'm with stupid feels like a T-shirt they should sell in the gift shop.
Yep. You're right, actually, with just the Clark egg on it.
Yeah. See, this is what working on this project is like. It's just nothing but fun. All right, you guys. Well, I think that wraps it up for this week. We'll be back same time, same places, same platforms next week with more news and updates. With that, I always like to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the bell, subscribe, do all that stuff. It certainly helps us out with spreading the word on everything that we're working on. If you're seeing this on Twitter or somewhere else, give us a like, give us a repost. We'd appreciate that as well. And if you would like to connect with us directly, we would very much like to do that with you. And the best place is on our Discord, which is
discord.gg/Macroverse.
Discord.gg/Macroverse. And so both Adam and I are there pretty frequently. Even if we're quiet, we're there. So if you tag us, we will respond to you. We're happy to chat. We'd love to chat and hear about what you're interested in, what you're working on. If you've ever thought about participating in the creative process of making these kinds of things, we're absolutely here for that. And we'll have some more stuff kicking off in the relatively near future as kind of the next opportunities to participate in the storytelling side of things and the creative process side of things. And if you're a writer or artist or someone that makes stuff, we'd love for you to come and hang out as well. We're really working on building the Discord community into a home for people that make the stuff, that like the stuff and that want to participate in learning how to make the stuff, and kind of closing that loop, all the way around in a very inviting and fun way. So cheers to everyone that's already in the community. You guys are awesome. And if you're not there yet,
come join us.
What are you waiting for? And with that, everybody have a wonderful week, wonderful weekend.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you soon.